Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Nonprofit Executive Spotlight, brought to you by Rogue Tulips Consulting. In this web series, we feature nonprofit executives seeking their next opportunity. I'm your host, Cecilia Sepp. I'm the principal and founder of Rogue Tulips Consulting. And in this edition, I am pleased to welcome our guest, Sally Cook, who's an expert in healthcare meetings and healthcare professional education. Welcome, Sally. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Cecilia. Yes, my name is Sally Cook, and I am a medical meetings manager. I like to work with subject matter experts in helping to develop their programming for overall education for healthcare professionals. And I like to do that through the development, the assessment, design, development, implementation, and evaluation of their courses. I am a team member who really enjoys working to help improve overall patient care.
That is a great summary of that really unique niche of meeting planning and education development. What's really different in your experience about what you do with a healthcare organization versus what you might do with some other type of professional society?
Sure. I think that there is a measurement tool to be able to see how patients are doing and making sure that they are improving in their programming. I was given an example once, the glucose meters. And so when you go and you have a new glucose meter, you can train the physicians on how to use those glucose meters.
Mm-hmm.
You can also find out 6 months later whether or not they are distributing these glucose meters and how well the patients are doing. Are they improving their glucose processing? And it does show that there is overall patient improvement.
Oh, that's really interesting. So it sounds like you also do some research and data collection on the other side of this training.
I do, yes. That is the performance level of learning. There are several different learning principles. There is the knowledge level where you look at evaluations just to see if they've learned anything and how well they like the program. There is the competency level learning where the person may not have known what was going on and what that process was. And 6 months later, you can find out whether or not they may know about it, but they're not actually using it in practice. And then performance level learning, they learned about the process. They have implemented the process in their work environment, and they are actually utilizing it, and it is effective.
So that's really interesting to me as somebody who does a lot of research in my work. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the other ways you use that follow-up research after this training? How else do you use it?
Well, the ACCME, or the Accreditation Council for Continuing Medical Education, does ask for self-studies, and they do like to see where community outreach has happened. And so you can utilize some of that research in order to implement and show that you have made a community outreach change in practice.
Oh, and then how does that affect your program? So, for example, if you have found a change, you've actually helped make a change, does that affect it at all? I mean, do you get like a accreditation or something? Or
you don't need to necessarily make a community outreach change to be able to be accredited by the ACCME or any other healthcare accreditation process, but it does show that you do have excellent skills and excellent knowledge of the program itself, or the program has an excellent recommendation, and the Accreditation Council for Continuing Medical Education can offer accreditation with commendation, and that's usually when you have some extra special projects that you're working on. There are some standards that you have to live by to be accredited.
Mhm.
And then you become, if you do these extra steps, then you receive accreditation with commendation.
Oh, that's really interesting to know. I didn't know they had the different levels like that where you could get with commendation. And I think that's a good thing, because if your education is having that kind of an impact, it should be recognized. And
Yes.
that's the sort of thing that it sounds like you have the unique skill set to make happen for other groups.
Yes. I could do that for, I think it's very important that even if it's not a medical education association or a society,
Mhm.
it has the opportunity to show that your content and what you're building, the educational programming that you're building, can lead to something that's really special and leads to improvement in whatever uh, pro- pro- professional development that you're working in.
So, what would you do? Let's say, Sally, you started at a new organization, healthcare association, who is doing this kind of education. What are some of the first things you would do coming in as the new director of education?
Yes, I would look at how interactive their programs are. If they need to have their online programs, if they would need to have a certain set of test questions to be able to move forward into having enduring materials to be accredited, and there would be a certain threshold for the participant to be able to successfully complete the exam and to be able to get credit for that activity. I would look at those type of questions. I would look at learning objectives for the overall programs and making sure that those learning objectives can lead to evaluation, and making sure that the educational program itself is able to make a change in practice, and that you're going to be able to measure that.
Mhm.
I would also, if an association or professional society had an annual meeting, I would look at all the different parameters and make sure that the content was meeting the most up-to-date materials that are being accessed, and so that they can get the latest and greatest information available.
Well, that sounds like a very thorough review process that you would start out. So, what I'm wondering though, you've been doing this for most of your career, and you have I'm going to look at my notes and say it right, the CHCP. Could you tell us a
Yes.
little bit about that certification? Because that sounds very unique and important.
Thank you for asking that about that, Cecilia. The CHCP is the Certified Continuing Healthcare Education Professional Program. And it means that I have competency level learning of adult education principles. I have education and knowledge on helping to create and develop content, as well as to be able to follow it through the evaluation process and making sure that the speakers are training in the best possible way, and that the participant is leading to competency level learning. One thing that is unique about the healthcare organizations is that the speakers and anyone who is involved in content development needs to have financial disclosures of all interests of that they would have with any kind of medical specialty. And that means that there are new standards with the ACCME and other accrediting bodies where they have to, all speakers and anybody involved in content have to present any kind of financial interests that they have for their programs and their work environment. And then the organization that I would be working for has to mitigate that process. And there has to be a mitigation process in place where you have the ability to make sure that the content is scientifically rigorous, fair, balanced, and free of commercial bias. And we do that. That's another part of the process of the education programming in a healthcare industry education program.
Wow, that sounds really like a rigorous certification that you had to prepare
Yes.
for. So did you have to take an exam to earn that, or how do you do that?
Yes, and actually I was one of the first, I will be honest, I was one of the first um, cohorts that tried to take the test. And I will say that I failed it the first time around, but I went back and I did some more research and I understand why I did not pass it the first time around. But the second time I did take it again and I did pass it at that
Well,
point.
that is great. You know what I love about that, Sally, is you had the commitment to keep doing the work until you achieve that goal. And I think that is something we are all looking for in a team member, somebody that we
Yes.
want to work with. They're going to stick with it until they get it, reach that goal, get it right, earn that certification. And I think that's a really important trait for anyone. So congratulations to you for that,
So,
because
thank you.
you're welcome. With the CAE, of course, I have the CAE, and not everybody passes that the first time. So
Yes.
I really love it when people stick with it and say I'm going to achieve a goal. And you did that with the CHCP, which sounds like it's pretty challenging certification exam.
Yes. Mhm.
Well, I'm going to kind of throw you a question you might not be expecting. If you could do anything with a healthcare education program, if we all look out the window and daydream about what we
Mhm.
could do. If there was something that you could do, like you had unlimited resources of all kinds and the freedom to do what you wanted, is there something that you would love to do with healthcare education that maybe is not happening now?
Mhm. That's a good question, Cecilia. And I think that I would like to work. Uh, I have done a lot of work with clinical trial research,
Mhm.
and I see how difficult it is for a drug to become a new, from inception all the way to post marketing. It costs over $1 billion these days for any pharmaceutical industry to be able to build a product. And I would like to see, especially since there was COVID, they had to the FDA had to fast track all of these programs and um, trials so that they could get COVID to be dissipated and decreased in the population, or else there would have been a lot more deaths. I would like to see a organization that helps to build clinical trials and move them from the new drug application all the way over to post marketing and implement some sort of a speedier access from beginning to end so that there can be better health and quicker health products going out into the community.
Well, that is a laudable goal, because I think we have seen for many years different medications or treatments languishing through processes. And then we were able to see that vaccine get developed very quickly for the COVID-19 strain. So that's a great goal. Wow. So
Yes. And
hey, everybody, this is the kind of thinker you want on your team, I think. I'm sorry, Sally, you were saying something?
that's okay. One additional thought I had with that is that one of the ways that that can be improved is through collaboration, team collaboration of the FDA, the physician, the nurses, the pharmacists, and everybody that's involved. So it would make for a better team organization to be able to pull that together. And that does require joint accreditation from multiple healthcare industries.
Well, and that is not something most of us would want to get tangled up in. It's trying to get all those multiple accreditations, but it sounds like you have a great understanding of that and could really pull that together for a group. So when it comes to what you love to do, healthcare education and meetings management and applying all that learning from your CHCP, what sort of an organization would you like to be part of next? What kind of group do you sit there and say, this is the kind of organization I want to join?
I really enjoy working with professional societies because the physicians and the pharmacists and nurses and everyone that's in the healthcare industry really enjoy getting to network with people, with each other, and get to learn together, and also to be able to have educational programming that would really make a difference in their overall patients.
So that's great. So do you, and okay, I'm going to say something that could be considered divisive in the healthcare profession, and I don't mean it that way. And so everybody's like, why are you couching it that way? But we have physicians, we have nurses, and then we have all the people that we might call allied health professionals. And that is a very big umbrella term, which I know some people don't like that term, but there's lots of different people who deliver healthcare that are not physicians or nurses. And so we have all, and I don't want to miss anybody. So that's why I use that term. So is there a specific group? Do you like to work with physicians? Do you like to work with nurses? Do you like to work with some of the different types of healthcare providers outside of nursing and doctors? Or is there,
Sure. I will tell you that I have spent a lot of time working with the American College of Radiology. Those people were primarily physicians, and I did serve as a surveyor for the ACCME at that point. But before that, I was working for Pharmaceutical Education Research Institute, and they were primarily pharmacists. And I really enjoyed the pharmacy credit. I also the accreditation of it, of the content. And I also did serve a couple of times as a surveyor for the American Accreditation Council for Pharmacy Education.
Well, and based on what we were talking about a few minutes ago, it sounds like you really do have a deep understanding of the pharmaceutical industry as well. And could really bring a lot to that sort of an organization. So I think that is a really great direction to go with your experience, because the pharmaceutical industry does do a lot for the economy and for patients, whether it's developing new treatments or doing patient education. So I think that would be a great area to move into. So we've kind of narrowed that down. So professional society, you like the pharmaceutical industry. There's a lot of interesting things going on there. What sort of a culture do you thrive in?
I do like to have a hybrid culture right now. When I was working at the American College of Radiology, that I had that opportunity, and I didn't really take it up on it because I do like to have a cubicle, and I like to sit with the team and be able to communicate with the team, and being able to move forward and making sure that we're all on the same plane, and you're not sitting in a desk with a closed door and nobody can talk to you situation. And so I do like the hybrid learning. I did the hybrid work environment. Because I did work remotely for so long, I did enjoy that. I got a new desk to be able to work work from home, which I didn't have that ability when I was working at the American College of Radiology. So I do enjoy the hybrid environment.
Well, I have been working virtually since 2003, so I'm with you on that. I really love being able to just dig in and focus on work from my home office. And that does make a difference in productivity. That's my opinion, not Sally's, everyone.
Yes.
But I know that's great. So you're looking for, a hybrid work environment
Yes.
and something collaborative, and anything
Yes.
about the type of organization? Like, are you looking for, I don't know, what else might you be looking for in a new organization?
I do like, one of the things that I have done over the years is I have worked for a very small work environment with staff of about 30 to 40 people.
Mhm.
I've worked in an environment with 500 people, and those environments are very different. When you're working in a staff of 500 people, that is much more of a siloed job, and you can't really expand on your areas of expertise and your areas of learning, professional development quite as well as you can when you're multitasking and you're working with different, more in a team environment with a staff of 30 to 40 people. And so I really enjoy, both sides have their positive and negative aspects, but I think I really enjoy working in a smaller professional society than a larger one.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, that's good to know. I think people who are seeking new team members want to know those sorts of things. And I agree with you. I've once worked at a place with over 400 employees, and it's a very different environment than when you're working in a team of 15 or 20. So, because you actually know everybody, as opposed to,
Yes.
this guy works up on the 6th floor. So I may not know him. So, well,
Yeah, he's worked on the 6th floor for 20 years. Where have you been?
you still don't know who he is. That's great. Well, so Sally, as we wrap up this episode, first of all, I want to thank you for being a guest. It's been a wonderful conversation. As a
Yes.
person who's also interested in healthcare policy and issues, I've really enjoyed it. Is there anything else you would like potential employers to know about you?
Yes, Cecilia, I did work first as a surveyor for the ACCME, the Accreditation Council for Continuing Medical Education, for over 6 years. And it was a wonderful opportunity to be able to learn more about not only what your organization is doing, but what other organizations are doing as well. And you really come out, when you finish your self-study or reading a self-study from someone else's organization, as to the improvements in overall patient care, which really makes a difference in the society today.
That is wonderful. And I think a lot of people don't realize the opportunity surveyors have to add to their knowledge base, their personal, professional knowledge base, and how they can apply that.
Yes.
I think that's a great thing. So if someone wants to talk to you about joining their team, Sally, what's the best way to get in touch?
The best way to get in touch with me is via LinkedIn. And my code name is Sally A. Cook. And you can find me there.
That's great. And the great thing about looking at LinkedIn is you'll be able to see Sally's profile and learn a little bit more about her background. And then you can contact her via LinkedIn. So thank you so much for joining us, Sally, and good luck.
Thank you.
This is Sally Cook, everyone, expert on medical education and healthcare education. And add her to your team if you want to up your game for moving forward with your education programs and helping find positive patient outcomes. Thanks for watching this episode of Nonprofit Executive Spotlight. We'll be back unless everybody gets a job.